Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mark Miller, Executive Director of the Passive House Alliance United States. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar. Today's webinar is on the new news that was just released about the partnership between PHIUSplus and the DOE Challenge Home program. And we have with us today Katrin Klingenberg, Executive Director of PHIUS, who's going to enlighten us on the details of this exciting new partnership. Before we get going, I just wanted to thank some of our sponsors to the Alliance and encourage everybody to support the folks who are supporting your Alliance. Just today, I'm pleased to announce that we have a new sponsor at the Platinum level with Building Science Corporation. Of course, CertainTeed, St. Gobain, the Rocky Mountain Institute, Intus Windows, Mitsubishi Electric, Prosoco, our friends at Ultimate Air, Chemlink, who I'll just interject here. I'm excited to announce that we have a Michigan chapter forming, and a representative from Chemlink is part of that small group that is starting to form in Lansing, Michigan. And then Zola Windows, and our good friends at PHIUS. I also wanted to let everybody know we've got 4 webinars coming up next month. Very excited to report that the program keeps growing, leaps and bounds. So we have the Minneapolis-St. Paul chapter that has a fall lecture series. There'll be a lecture September, October, and November. And the kickoff event is with Tim Ian on a retrofit that he's doing up there in Minneapolis. Then in Chicago on the 19th of September, interior masonry retrofits, building science and case studies. And we have 2 veterans in the building science world, Bill Rose and Paul Knight, who will be our presenters. So I encourage you to join us for that one. And then PHA Vermont will be hosting 2 on the 11th of September in the morning, foam-free high-performance enclosures with 475, and then Thursday, September 20th, air barrier technology with Ken Lynch from Tremco. All of these will be posted on the national events calendar on the PHIUS website, and I encourage you to register for these. It will be a great month in September. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to our guest presenter today, Katrin Klingenberg. And if you will, just bear with us a minute while we switch cameras. All right, Kat.
All right, I gotta accept. All right, can you guys see me?
There we go. Now we can see your slides.
Okay, perfect. I lost my little red arrow, just as a warning, Mark. So if there are questions, I think you gotta read them to me.
Shall do.
And with that, I'd like to say hello to everybody who's on the webinar today. And again, as an encouragement, if you have any burning questions that you'd like to interject with, please do as we go through these slides. So that we get a little bit more of a conversation going too, and not just wait until the end. Well, for me, this was a really, really fantastic news. This past Monday, not this past, the one before that, the 20th of August, finally, the news press release made it through all the official channels at the DOE, and we finally were able to announce this new partnership, which is actually more than just a regular partnership that you would find right there on the DOE Challenge Home website. It's actually a memorandum of understanding to work together towards an even better program than the Challenge Home. And that's essentially what this partnership is. It is a very strong endorsement and also a recognition that Passive House is already doing a lot of the things that they are putting on the table right now that Passive House has been doing this very well already and is exceeding those requirements. And essentially, kind of like, I don't know, unofficially, but people keep joking that Passive House is the Energy Star version 5. I've heard that one from a couple people, with the Challenge Home being the Energy Star version 4. So there's some serious interest from the government, and I think in general that's really, really good news, because that will help all of us to put this on the map and to strengthen businesses and to strengthen adoption. And of course, beyond Passive House, the common goal here is our concern about the environment, and that we really need and should and want to go to 0 and plus energy homes, because those are really the building models of the future. So with that, I'm going to move on to the first slide right here. And what I want to start this conversation with is just basically setting the stage, looking at a few different concepts of rating systems, and then look at the most specific points and comparison of the programs and see where we are at with what we're doing already and what we will have to do to make this partnership work. There are a few items that we have not been doing yet, so we'll do that here in a second. All right, so overview of rating systems. You're all familiar with this rating system right here, the LEED point system. That's one way to approach sustainability. It is a very linear way, and we have seen in the past, LEED has gotten a little bit into the headlines because the actual energy performance was not really getting to where they wanted it to be, and the LEED system, the point system, in my opinion, is not very conducive to actually generate the best energy efficiency results. With that said, this is of course why LEED likes to refer to Energy Star, and the EPA has done a very good job right here to identify this energy issue from the perspective of prescriptive guidelines. And you can see right here, like they are trying to work also with performance, of course. They have both options for Energy Star version 3, but it is definitely a hybrid between a performance and a prescriptive path. So this is where Energy Star kind of like stopped with the version 3. And then I'm not sure how many of you are actually familiar with the path that Sam Rashkin, who's now in the Challenge Home program at the DOE, has taken. He was one of the main architects of the Energy Star program. And as we all know, it started very modest with Energy Star with the early versions, and has worked up to the Energy Star version 3, which is actually already quite up there in terms of what they are requiring. And in Sam Rashkin's mind, at least that's what he told us when we first started talking with him about this idea to put Passive House on the map. Basically, our idea was, well, there are your Energy Star versions, and you're trying to ratchet this up from like each revision to the next. Could you not already like put Passive House all the way out there, all the way on the other end, like the reach coder, just giving people the idea that there might be another option to not do this incremental step improvement, but to go all the way over to Passive House right away. We started this conversation 2 years ago, and he told us then that his idea really was to build these stepping stones. And they were made up out of these Energy Star versions 3. And then about a year ago, he was called in, or maybe longer already, I'm not sure right now how long he has been with the DOE, but this is where he then went after the Energy Star and the EPA process that he was involved in. He went to the DOE, to the Department of Energy, and he started the Challenge Home program. Actually, in fact, I was wrong about this. I think he went right in 2000. Well, I'm actually not entirely sure when he switched to DOE, so let's leave that stand. So as the chief architect of the DOE, he tackled the Challenge Home. And the Challenge Home now takes Energy Star level, Energy Star version 3 to a whole other level. So it's really increasing the requirements quite a bit towards actually passive house. It's almost already there. So, and when we then started talking again about a year ago, well, now it's already a little bit longer than that, we revisited this idea of having a partnership between Passive House and the Challenge Home. And those of you who were at the Silver Spring Passive House conference last year, you might remember his keynote in which he actually proposed that we would do something like this, what we're proposing here now, that we would come together in a partnership, Passive House and Challenge Home. So let's say Challenge Home is the unofficial version 4 right here. And then if we go to the next level, to the Passive House certification, we could consider this as the unofficial kind of like prototype for a version 5. And the DOE is very, very aware that the level of energy savings of Passive Houses, that is really where we need to go. I don't have the slide in here right now, but some of you might have seen this, the plan of the DOE of energy savings in buildings and how that should be reflected in codes in terms of driving down the energy consumption. Their goal is by 2020 a energy total reduction of 70%, and that is absolutely same thing as Passive House. So we have the same 2020 goal, the DOE and Passive House, just that we're doing it already. So I'm going to let that stand again. So Passive House, there's another reason why Passive House, why the PHIUSplus certification was such a good candidate for the DOE. And of course, we have been kind of like thinking along these lines for a long time. And the ResNet partnership actually was already a step to work towards the government recognition, government endorsement, which now indeed has happened. So the way it positioned us was through that partnership with ResNet now, we have already an integral part of the certification that fulfills the governmental third-party verification requirements. And on top of it, it also delivers through the entire process a HERS rating. And that is more for like, and becomes even more important, at least recently what I've seen, in regards to getting financing. The mortgage industry is looking more and more towards the HERS index as the actual kind of miles per gallon label for houses. And ResNet is becoming incredibly strong in promoting that label nationwide. So I think we will see an even stronger push in the near future for the HERS rating. And well, that's okay for now, but I think the DOE is already there, like out on the horizon. They know we need something that's more specific, like what Passive House is doing, a specific energy metric that can be verified, and that down the road, in the long run, a HERS index that always just against the code level cannot be very representative down the road. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting how this develops, and my feeling is that we will probably see some other modeling and certification tools develop here as well down the road. So this stay tuned. There might be some more exciting news soon. So again, the design verification under the PHIUSplus certification, the on-site QA/QC made us a prime partner for the government. Okay, so with that, I'd like to get to the program comparison, the specifics of it. And again, if you guys have questions, you can type them in. I can't see them, but Mark can interrupt and we'll address them. Okay, so just like a very simple comparison line right here, Energy Star with 30% reduction, Challenge Home is kind of like in there with 40 to 60% compared to the baseline, code baseline right now, and Passive House not that great of a passive house, gets maybe only like 65, which if it's all electric, if it has more renewable, like solar thermal or something in there, more efficient technologies, better design, then it can get up to 85%. So this is nothing new. This is how this is presenting itself. So the good news here is that we have one certification now that basically already has the other two as a prerequisite under this new agreement with the Challenge Home. And the even better news is that that does not really cost us much. We were essentially already doing most of it. So and that's kind of like how this essentially looks like. We're not saying that now people have to fulfill 3 checklists. We're saying, well, the prescriptive path of Challenge Home and Energy Star, and we are essentially already fulfilling. We have to, if we want to fulfill our specific energy requirements. And once we realize that, we're like, yeah, of course, that's fantastic. We get the endorsement from the government and from the DOE, and they are goodwill to put us on the menu, so to speak, and we really don't have to do that much more work. From the certification process, this will not cause any additional cost. People can choose, like, yes, if you also want the Challenge Home label, sure. If you also want the energy label, those are the things that the resin hydrator can fairly easily issue for the project if that is desired. If not, then one just goes with the passive house label and is done with it.
Hey, Kat, I have a first question from Adam Cohn.
Okay.
He's asking about the ASHRAE 62.2 for the kitchen. Is there any update on that?
I'm going to defer that one. I'll get to that in a second when we go through the checklist.
Okay.
Okay, so very quickly, passive house certification. This is our step-by-step process right here, and the cost for the certification stays exactly the same: 25% for alliance members off of like small homes, $1,300 and $1,850 for larger homes. And if they are larger projects, it just scales up accordingly. So for an alliance member, that is basically for the design review about a $1,000 review cost. And now we're getting into the checklist. So Adam, I'm going to get this here in a second. It's going to be on the list very quickly. So these next couple slides actually highlight our coming through the Energy Star for Homes checklists, as well as the additional requirements of the Challenge Home program. And you can see right here the yellow areas that are highlighted. Those are the ones that we actually might need some additional exceptions for because of passive house convention. We might not be able to fulfill this. Now, this one right here, the first one, that was the first topic that we had discussed with the DOE, the high performance fenestration, and you might have heard about this, the Energy Star requirements in terms of heating coefficient. And of course, if that's a requirement for this partnership that all passive houses now can only have solar heating coefficients of 0.3, then of course this deal would have been dead in the water. Turns out that's not the case. I have another slide here a little bit further down. We'll discuss this again in a little bit more detail. So that was an easy one to solve. We found that was not the case at all. The next one was an issue with the quality of the insulation because as you can see right here on the right-hand side, there's a note. If you blindly insulate, so if you have a big cavity and you insulate that, then the radar requirement on the Energy Star, so that you have to do an actual visual inspection, you can't do that with the passive house. And that was also an easy fix. DOE basically said, like, if you exceed the Challenge Home R value requirements by 50%, which passive house will easily do, then this basically our inspection counts as their grade 1. inspection. So that was an easy one too. And I like to say again that the DOE is really happy to work with us in this, and they are trying to really make this work. So they're not trying to be difficult. It's a very collaborative process. So then all the other ones right here, you can see yes, the fully aligned air barriers with the thermal bridging air sealing, that's all in alignment. So as we move on to the HVAC system contractor list, we ran into the next problem, and that's what Adam was curious about, and that is the ASHRAE 62.2. And at first I thought like, oh no, not again. Those who were at Silver Springs last year, you remember there was a presentation, and we basically reported on our interpretation request with ASHRAE if Passive House indeed does not meet 62.2, and after 8 months of waiting, the committee actually did get back to me and said, like, yes, you're correct, Passive House does not meet 62.2 requirement. And since then, we've heard from a lot of design teams that they've run into snags with code and other verification agencies that were just not happy with the low flow continuous ventilation in a designed Passive House kitchen. So at first I thought like, oh, well, now we're stuck again. But then as we started the discussion with Sam Rashkin, and we've inquired with Building Science Corporation by now, we've inquired with some other mechanical engineer experts, inquired with a few other committee members of ASHRAE 62.2. It actually does not seem to be a hurdle that we cannot overcome. So people are generally very willing to look at it. Now that's the good news. It actually put it on the table. Last year in Silver Spring, we concluded, well, we can do anything about it. They told us we have to put in an application to change 62.2 to be recognized, and that would take forever, so we would never get anywhere anytime soon with that. So essentially now it has put it on the table, and the DOE wants to solve it. People finally listen, and they are interested in solving this problem. So I'm looking at this from a very positive angle right at the moment. And the last word that I got from Sam Rashkin was that there was one argument made that for the bathroom case, there's a certain percentage reduction between intermittent and continuous ventilation that he's looking at, like that kind of like illogical argument in the kitchen. Why should that same reduction not also be allowed in the kitchen? So that's kind of like the angle he's taking right now. There are other options to solve this problem, which are way more expensive. There's a very fancy modeling tool that actually models the pollutant ratio in a building with ASHRAE 62.2 5 air changes per hour ventilation versus Passive House ventilation continues, let's say 35 or 40 CFM on low flow. That model would cost us between $20,000 and $40,000, which I think at this point is kind of like out of the question, at least for PHIUS, but the DOE might be willing to reallocate some Building America funds to do that if worse came to worse. I think there are some other options that we can still explore. So at least the news that I got from Sam Rashkin sounded pretty positive. He's looking for some simple ways to make an exception here for us.
Can I interject a few questions?
Yes.
Adam Cohn's asking if we are going to have to do manual J-calcs, or will they accept PHPP peak loads?
We will have to do manual J-calcs, or whatever it is going to be. So again, I said this is a collaborative process, and DOE and those folks who put together the Challenge Home, they are very aware that those conventional tools are not the right tool to size ducts and systems for Passive Houses. They're very aware of that. So I would say that the final word on this has not been spoken yet, and that there will be a that there might be kind of like a transitional I don't know, regulation or something. The one thing to be said for, and I got that very, very clear from Sam, there's no way that they're going to accept PHPP as a modeling tool. It's like this does not qualify. It does not meet the standard requirements for a modeling tool. So that I got a very clear no on.
Kristen Simmons is typing in that she's had success with the 62.2 issue in her PH project with the BSc reviewed and approved. It could comply with 62.2. She's happy to talk about it.
Yes, it can comply, of course. There, 62.2 has a provision for what they call, I'm not sure what exactly they call, like creative or alternative design approach. But for that one, you will have to find a designer, mechanical engineer who's going to sign off on it. And then if that person signs off on it, then you can basically do whatever you want. What we want to do is we want to find a solution where you don't have to do this. And of course, it also depends on the size of the kitchen. The 5 ACH is based on the volume of the kitchen. If you could kind of like, and that's the problem with 62.2. There's no clear definition of what the size of the kitchen is. So if it's open to some other space, all of a sudden your ACH might be like 5 ACH might be 300 CFMs, and that's obviously completely ridiculous. So, and the problem is a little bit more convoluted because this ties to the indoor air quality requirements under the Challenge Home. And apparently, and that's kind of like beyond ASHRAE 62.2, and beyond, the LDO apparently has done a study that finds that cooking pollutants from electric and gas, the carcinogens, the VOCs, they are extremely dangerous, and they are very, very concerned with those lingering. So we will have to see how this will work. But yes, as of right now, there is possibility to have somebody sign off on an alternative design or to kind of define your kitchen small enough so that it all works out.
Right. Adam also shares manual J software is about 2 times the peak load on PHPP.
Yes.
From his experience.
Yes, those conventional tools are not very applicable. But again, the good news is, and I can't really talk that much more about it, but there are new tools arriving on the market that will qualify under the DOE standards as a certification tool. So we'll see those come onto the market here pretty soon.
And I have a question from Prudence for the last slide. Can we also do IR for insulation?
No. No, that IR is beyond what Challenge Home actually requires. Well, actually, I don't know that. I can pass that question on to Sam Rashkin if that might be an additional option for. I'm assuming this aims at the grade 1 installation requirement, and I believe that John Semmelheck had brought up the same argument, but then Sam said, "Yeah, no, we don't accept IR for that," or something like that. I'll verify, and I'll get back to her on that one.
All right, and then one last one. George Nesbitt shares, you can't design an HVAC system properly with the PHPP. That's why you need the manual J or other room-by-room load calculations.
Well, I agree, and that's a climate-specific issue as well. I think in some climates, the PHPP might be adequate, but yes, George, in your climate, fully agree. The PHPP is not sufficient to provide a ventilation system or comfort. And Prudence also has done a lot of research in that regard and has done extensive comparison models in Energy PHIUS and so on and so forth. Yes, in warmer climates, we need probably a different tool. That's right.
Jim Phelps shares for an FYI that ResNet IR standard will only verify up to grade 2 installation, not grade 1. Maybe that's your
Yep,
answer right there.
and I think that was Sam's point probably, where he said like, yeah, that's we don't accept that. But then again, he gave us this exception, basically like, yeah, if you do like a fully solid loose fill insulated cavity, as would be the case in passive house, he basically waived that we have to do a visual inspection, and he didn't even ask for IR. And I believe John, as I said, offered him the IR option.
Well, since we're thinking about John, we were hoping he would join us today, but he was unable to with his schedule. Kat, maybe you can mention the opportunity folks have with his workshop at the conference.
Yes, the pre-conference doesn't cost much, just $5, and that was just a nominal thing because we need to get people registered in the system. Ryan Abendroth and John Samohek will answer questions. They will be available on Thursday in the morning until I think 10 o'clock to talk about certification and all of systems coordination. Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe we make our way a little bit. We won't hit many more really bad stumbling blocks because this is almost pretty much already it. Even though you see a lot of notes here popping up in the slides, like heating, cooling system design, selected cooling equipment. It says no because we're not currently requiring this, or we are like the selected cooling equipment. We have no maximum oversizing requirement, and most of the time we use mini splits. So at that point, we're oversizing likely already. These are all points that we probably will have to keep working on as we start our first prototype joint project. But this will not prevent anybody from getting certified. So these are just points in motion a little bit. Selected furnace, I thought that was a funny one. As John noted here, well, furnaces are rare in passive houses. Let's go on to the next one. This is all pretty easy stuff. So the next one, this is what we're haggling with the Challenge Home people about. They say like, why can't you just put like a giant exhaust hood and vent directly to the outside? And then we're right back to our making another hole through the envelope, having to have a makeup system, so on and so forth. And they understood that argument, and so this is just another point that relates to the ASHRAE 62.2. So we are on our way to progress there. Then the Energy Star water management system builder checklist. I'd like to say a few words about that one. We are not requiring any of that stuff right now. And I have to say that through a whole bunch of projects now that we've seen and also testimonies coming back from building science experts from the more established crowd at Building Science Corporation, as well as summer camp this year, they came to me and said, I've seen this really beautiful passive house project, and we really commend what you guys are doing. But it really seems to us that the passive house people are so focused on meeting the thermal requirements that they almost forget about the water management layer. And of course, that rings like all kinds of warning bells. If you have a super insulated loose fill wall cavity and you have bulk water leakage, that's a giant problem, and I personally feel that we have not given us enough attention. So I'm very, very happy on having this water management checklist added, and that's nothing off the back of the designer, because that's basically the rater who's going to do that anyway. So that's a free benefit that we're getting from this one. The next ones are the actual DOE Challenge Home envelope requirements. Now, this is the one right here. I have a slide in regards to this. This is the same one that we ran into with the Energy Star requirements, the solar heat gain coefficient for the south. I have a slide following this, but I'd like to finish this up real quick here. You can see the ducts within the thermal envelope. We always have to do that in a passive, we do that anyway. I like the water efficiency, basically limit. What does define an efficient water delivery system? Never thought about it that way, but we teach people do it as compact as possible, but actually having a number that defines what or what constitutes an inefficient water delivery system, I like that. That's a good help tool. And then, of course, pretty much we have to specify Energy Star lighting and refrigerators, dishwashers, so on and so forth, because we need to meet our source energy requirements. We need the most energy efficient equipment. So this is no sweat off our backs either. So essentially, in regards to the solar heat gain coefficient issue, we have concluded that there really should not be any problem for PHIUSplus projects. Because Energy Star requires that you prove that you meet the 0.3 solar heat gain coefficient with a weighted solar heat gain coefficient of all orientations. For climate zones 4 and higher, you don't have to worry about that anyway. You can use whatever solar heat gain coefficient. So essentially, for most passive house projects, should already be a non-issue. So for climate zones 1, 2, 3, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. At that point, again, as it says right here, you have to show that you're meeting the weighted average of 0.3 solar heat gain coefficient for all orientations. So you have a choice to have higher solar heat gain coefficient on the south, either through this a weighted average path, or the next option right here, you have to associate a solar thermal storage capacity with it. And we're going to try to rephrase this with the DOE a little bit. So essentially, it would be great if this could be formulated differently as we see this in PHVP, like the overheating limit. So if the modeling tool says the overheating in the building or the difference in temperature is only like 2 degrees F, that you're going to be okay, that your combination of thermal mass is actually applicable. And they don't mean by the 20 BTUs per cubic foot F here that this all has to be right in front of the window. They have a similar rule for this thermal mass that it has to be in the space. It could be countertop, whatever. So in a way, I like this again because it kind of like makes that connection. If we're pushing for solar heat gain in the south, where it might be dangerous because it causes overheating, we need to take some mitigating action. And I think we have seen like the consequences of not having a speed limit like this in some projects that are fighting overheating because they built very light and they did not put these things together. So thermal storage mass actually might help in the south greatly to prevent overheating. So also good thing in my mind. All right, so then the indoor air plus checklist. Now that's getting a little bit more interesting because we are currently not requiring any of those. But because of that really, really excellent ventilation, mostly we should have all of that covered. But that's all still going to be kind of like in progress. What exactly of those we will, and I think there are actually also some exceptions when you don't have to go through the full checklist. So there's some wiggle room there. You might notice right here on the MERV 8 filter, we might just have to make a decision to require MERV 12. We are already recommending it. We're not requiring it. It might be okay to say Passive House recommends MERV 12, and we have to do a MERV 8 because of this partnership now. Maybe that's good enough. We'll make some decisions on that one. And then last but not least, that's the renewable ready checklist. That was the one that I was most hung up about initially. But then once you actually check this out, it once again makes a hell lot of sense. And I have another slide right here. You can see right here it says in areas that receive 5 kilowatt hours per square meter average daily solar installation. So if you go to the explanation that they are offering here, you can see that really only in the Southwest and in Florida, there is this requirement that you have to make your project solar ready. And again, to quickly go back to the slide before, that means not only PV ready, but also solar thermal ready. And I have a feeling that in these yellow areas right there, and this is actually one of the areas that really started for us to kick loose this discussion about climate-specific standards. Joaquin Carter from brought that up many, many years ago. He's like, why am I designing super insulated envelopes for like my high delta T if I have free sun and like an incredible efficiency of my solar thermal free energy? That doesn't make any sense. So essentially, I think we will find that there might be different combinations for climate-specific standards, how to get to this most optimal balance for a passive house, and that in those yellow areas that people might be anyway inclined to use solar thermal and PV. Those, so that's essentially also good news. And in the other green areas, you don't really have to worry about it. I still think it's a good idea to put it in. We have put it in on our Dublin house, and, Washington house, and the other projects we did in Urbana. They are all solar ready, at least for PV. And then this is one of the last slides right here before the conclusions. This is what our current on-site quality assurance and the design review. This is the above and beyond points that PHIUSplus is already doing beyond the DOE Challenge Home. The Challenge Home does not require a design review, so that would be our pre-certification right here. And again, as we've seen, it's hugely valuable, not only in like accurate balancing, but also accurate system sizing, and mostly what we're seeing also the wall assembly design. Is the hygrothermal performance actually working out? And there's still a lot of confusion out there, and there are many, many projects that we sent back, and we would say a professional WOFE analysis, because we're not sure that the wall will actually be condensation-free and risk-free in that particular climate. We have additional ventilation distribution requirements, the low-flow testing to each rooms and so on and so forth. That's beyond the Challenge Home. The thermal imaging that we're requiring is beyond it. We have more involved lower door gas depressurization and pressurization. More attention to the duct between the ventilator and the envelope in terms of condensation free, and that whole situation that is high quality, that is not addressed under the Challenge Home. We're inspecting the ventilation defrost systems. We're inspecting the ground loops. We're verifying all those designs, that those accounted for or planned designed kilowatt hours that we're getting from a ground loop system, that those are actually going to be put in place. Accounting for thermal bridge correction factors. Neither Challenge Home nor Energy Star do that. We're accounting for the distribution losses of the domestic hot water. Those other two programs don't do that either. And then, of course, our shading conditions, they are starting to get more stringent, because we are seeing that most people just very, very much underestimate the shading on site. And we have started to require pathfinder images. There's a gigantic difference. A bad gas can make a difference of like about a 25% of shading, and that'll take you out of the certification range, not just by a little bit, but by a lot. And then, of course, the documentation of the whole process. That's what we are requiring. And I'm going to stop talking here, just quickly a couple of conclusions, and then we can go to the discussion. But still super excited about this partnership. Essentially, we were already doing it. Sure, we can sign on to this. They're bringing to the table a few really great improvements. We were already set up through our PHIUSplus with the ResNet radar. We are living up to the third-party verification requirement and the challenges of that part of quality assurance of a project. We are also set up to provide a HERS index, which as of right now is still the language to talk to incentive programs and to mortgage programs. And best of all, really for the certification process, it does not make any difference. There are a few things that we might need to shift or add, but it's no additional significant work involved. And the benefits of all this, we have huge market recognition. Additional, that's kind of nice understating it here. We have a better program because of these additional environmental requirements, which PHIUS kind of always suggests, but there are no real standards that hold us to doing it. So I think this is a very good thing that we have this now. With triple label recognition, there are some areas that give incentives on Energy Star. So what good is your PHIUS if you only get incentives for Energy Star? So either you have to do this whole argument and spend your time arguing that PHIUS is just as good, or you just get basically the Energy Star label with it. Financial incentives right now still a little thin, but I have a feeling that they're gearing up for some pretty serious incentives from the government. We'll see. So that would be an immediate shoe-in, no additional work involved because it's all included. And then last but not least, it's gigantic to get PHIUS on the map, DOE endorsed, nationwide advertised. I can't even begin realizing what this might potentially do to going from like a very small, initially successful program to mainstream, and that really, in my opinion, needs to be our goal. So with that, I'd like to open this up to discussion and say thank you.
Thanks, Kat. I have a question here from George Nesbitt. Is it required to meet all the DOE Challenge Home requirements?
We will check this for you. If you go through our certification, you will not see much difference. Yes, DOE Challenge Home is a prerequisite, but then again, where it runs up against PHIUS, they are working with us to change that, to give us an exception or like finding a different pathway.
Kristen Simmons notes here, how many builders challenge homes are built each year? Do we know?
I don't know, but they're in the thousands. We just got a press inquiry from the Washington Post, and they wanted to know how many projects have been built and what's your goal. And I was like looking at the thousands of challenge home and like the 110s of passive houses, and I felt very small. But yes, the challenge home program is large.
Well, George Nesbitt is challenging that. He's saying 0 so far. I'm not sure why he's saying that.
No, that's not true. There are quite a few people doing prototyping right now.
Okay. Any other questions, folks? Oh, he says, George says again, it's just started as Challenge Home.
Yes, it's the same program though. It used to be the Builders Challenge, and they didn't like the name, so they rebranded themselves, but essentially same program.
Okay. A question from Ginger Watkins. Might it be possible for BEOP to be updated to produce manual J-type calculations, HERS ratings, and passive house modeling for certification so we can streamline the process?
I'm assuming she's talking about BEOP from NREL, yes?
I think maybe we could get her in the conversation here. Let me see if I can unmute her. Ginger, are you there?
Ooh, wow.
I am, but it's loud.
Did you mean BEOP, Ginger?
I did. I meant BEOP.
So I'm not. I think it has potential, but it's also tied to Energy Plus, and that's a huge learning curve right there. I'm not sure that it is actually specific enough to ultra low energy efficient homes. So I think again, it has potential, but I think there will be other tools, and that's all I can tell you at the moment. But there will be tools coming that do exactly what you just asked.
Okay. Let me see what else we have. Kurt Hurley asks, is the Challenge Home program available for deep retrofits of existing structures?
I don't think so, but I mean, we have our version of the retrofit program, and that fits. And again, once we run into a problem with the Challenge Home requirement there, we'll discuss this with Sam. This partnership is meant to work out the kinks and to better both programs and to have those learning experiences integrated into the next series of guidelines. So I'd say let's do it. Let's try.
All right. Kristen Simmons asks, has any analysis been done regarding water sense and the energy savings impact? Any changes in inputs into the PHPP to account for lower water use?
Well, PHPP allows you to customize that, right? We haven't done any studies in particular. That would be good to do to give people that as a tool. We'll look into that. I'll suggest that to Sam.
George Nesbitt contributes, Right Suite can export to RemRate, Energy Pro, and Energy Gauge.
Right Suite? I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. I'm going to unmute.
It was a contribution, right? So there was no
George, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You want to ask your question again?
Well, I mean, Right Suite is Manual J software. So it's, I think the other main software is Elite, but Right Suite can export, so you don't necessarily have to model in multiple packages anymore.
Yep, that's great. And I think that's what we really have to all strive for, because after a while it just gets too much.
Right. All right. I have a few more here. Fred McGee asks, is there a role for BPI certified energy raters in this process, or has PHIUS accepted EPA's exclusive arrangement with ResNet?
Whew, that's so far we have not. We do have a first BPI professional in our ResNet class at CMU, but that's really just an auditing position. That's something we will have to discuss. So maybe there could be some conversations started about that.
George says again, Challenge Home is not intended for existing homes, but if you do enough work, you can meet all the requirements. Prudence says something about for Manual J decalcs. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe we can get Prudence in here. There she is. Prudence. Are you there?
No, I was just answering the chat about, yeah. I was just saying that the software the board was constantly from the conversation.
I could not hear what you were saying, Prudence. You were kind of echoey.
All right. I'm going to move on. Let's see. Christopher Gonzalez, what is the actual process of pursuing a Challenge Home rating for a PH currently under construction?
Okay, let me think about that one. I think there is actually there is a deadline. They're launching the Challenge Home on the 1st of September. It might have something to do with your permitting date. I'm assuming that you're falling out of it. You can't.
Okay. One last one from Kristen. Is it correct to assume that PHIUS will continue to certify commercial and retrofit buildings outside of the Challenge Home Program partnership?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. That's basically all I have, Kat. So thanks, everybody.
Okay, great.
Appreciate everyone joining us this afternoon. And it very well may turn into another webinar down the road as more questions keep coming in. So again, check the national events calendar for the webinars coming up next month. And also, we hope to see everyone at the conference. And thanks for joining us today.